On a dusty plain in Greece, 10,000 men stood facing an army that outnumbered them by as much as 3-1. Behind them was everything they had ever known. In front of them was the greatest empire on earth. What happened next would decide whether Greek civilization survived at all or vanished before it truly began.
This is the story of Marathon, not just a battle, but the moment a handful of city-states chose to stand against an empire that had never lost. No allies were coming. No retreat was possible. What these men did on that plain would echo through history for 25 centuries and give birth to a word we still use today, Marathon itself.
By 490 BCE, the Persian Empire stretched from India to the edge of Europe, the largest empire the world had ever seen. Its ruler, King Darius, had already crushed rebellions and conquered dozens of nations. Now his eyes turned toward Greece, a fractured collection of small, quarreling city-states that had dared to support an uprising against Persian rule.
Darius saw them not as a threat, but as an inconvenience to be erased. He sent a massive invasion fleet across the Aegean Sea, carrying tens of thousands of soldiers, cavalry, and horses. Their target? Athens. Their message was simple: submit or burn.
The Persian fleet landed at a shallow bay near the plain of Marathon, roughly 26 miles from Athens. Word reached the city in a panic. Athens sent a runner named Phidippides, sprinting nearly 140 miles to Sparta, begging for military support. The Spartans agreed to help, but only after a religious festival ended, days away.
Athens could not wait. With only one ally willing to march immediately, a small city called Plataea, the Athenians assembled roughly 10,000 armored soldiers. Hoplites, farmers, and craftsmen turned warriors overnight. Across the plain waited a Persian force that vastly outnumbered them. There would be no reinforcements, no second chance.
For days, the two armies simply stared at each other across the plain of Marathon. The Greeks held the high ground near the hills, refusing to advance into open terrain where Persian cavalry could slaughter them. The Persians waited too, confident that hunger, fear, or Greek infighting would eventually break the standoff in their favor. Tension stretched the days into something unbearable. Soldiers on both sides could see their enemies' campfires each night, hear their voices carried on the wind, and wonder whether tomorrow would be the day the killing began.
Then, without warning, Greek scouts noticed something extraordinary. The Persian cavalry, the single most dangerous weapon on that battlefield, was gone. Loaded back onto ships, possibly being redirected toward an undefended Athens itself. It was the opening the Greek commander Miltiades had been waiting for. With the cavalry no longer a threat to his flanks, he gave the order that would define the battle and Greek history itself: advance.
What followed was almost suicidal by ancient military logic. The heavily armored Greek hoplites broke into a full run across nearly a mile of open ground, directly into the range of Persian archers. Most armies would never attempt this, but Miltiades understood something the Persians did not yet realize. Speed meant fewer arrows landing before contact, and contact was where Greek armor and long spears held every advantage. The two lines collided in a wall of bronze, screaming, and blood. In the center, the thinner Greek line buckled under Persian pressure. But on both flanks, the heavily reinforced Greek wings smashed through the lighter-armed Persian troops and folded inward, surrounding the Persian center in a brutal pincer.
What began as a battle became a rout.
Persian soldiers, many without heavy armor, broke and fled toward their ships in chaos, trampling their own men in the panic. The Greeks pursued them all the way to the shoreline, fighting hand-to-hand in the surf itself, as Persian sailors desperately tried to push their vessels back into the water. When it was over, ancient sources claim as few as 192 Athenians had died, against more than 6,000 Persian dead. Whether or not those exact numbers are precise, the outcome was undeniable. An empire that had never been defeated in open battle had just been broken by farmers with spears.
But the battle wasn't truly finished. The surviving Persian fleet turned south, sailing directly toward an undefended Athens, hoping to seize the city before the exhausted Greek army could return to defend it. According to legend, a messenger ran the full distance back to Athens without stopping, bursting into the city to gasp a single word: Nike, victory, before collapsing dead from exhaustion. Whether that runner's death is history or legend, the race itself was real. The Athenian army, having just fought and won a brutal battle, marched at desperate speed back to their city, arriving in time to make the Persian fleet reconsider. Facing a defended city and a battle-hardened army, the Persians turned their ships around and sailed home.
Marathon did not end the war between Greece and Persia. A far larger invasion would come 10 years later. But it proved something that changed history forever. A united, disciplined force of free citizens could defeat the largest empire on Earth. That idea, that ordinary people fighting for their own city could stand against overwhelming power, would go on to shape Western civilization for the next 2,500 years. And the distance those messengers ran between Marathon and Athens still carries their memory today. Every single time a runner crosses 26 miles for nothing more than the honor of finishing. If you enjoyed this journey through one of history's most decisive battles, subscribe for more and let us know in the comments which battle we should reconstruct next.